Daisy Coleman appeared to be the quintessential image of American youth. To those who saw her in the hallways of her high school, she was a figure of effortless grace and immense potential. She possessed a sharp, inquisitive intellect that was often masked by a kind, unassuming demeanor. She was a talented athlete, a loyal friend, and a daughter who seemed to embody vibrancy itself. Before we get started, be kind enough to support my channel. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay active. It will help a lot. I will be very grateful to you for that. Yet this alluring exterior was a fragile shell. Beneath the surface, Daisy harbored a spirit that had already been tempered by fire. From a tender age, she had navigated harrowing experiences that had forced her to grow up far too quickly. She carried herself with a maturity that was born of survival, a quiet strength that belied the internal struggles she fought every single day. She was a girl who had already looked tragedy in the eye and refused to blink, until the night the world decided to break her. The cracks in Daisy's world first appeared in 2009. At the time, the Colemans were a family of status and warmth living in Albany, Missouri. Her father, Michael, was a dedicated physician. Her mother, Melinda, a veterinarian. Daisy was the heart of the home, the only daughter among 3 younger brothers. The nightmare began on a desolate road while the family was en route to a wrestling tournament. In a split second of metal and glass, their car struck an unforeseen obstruction and hurtled into a deep ravine. The accident was catastrophic, claiming the life of Michael Coleman instantly. Left as the sole head of the household, Melinda moved her children to the larger city of Maryville, hoping that a change of scenery would offer a sanctuary for their grief. She stepped into the role of a single parent with a fierce protective energy, grappling with the immense responsibility of raising 3 boys and a daughter who was quietly drowning in the memory of her father's loss. They were a family trying to heal, unaware that Maryville would soon become the site of a much more sinister trauma. The morning of January 8, 2012 felt like the end of the world. It was 5 a.m. and the Missouri winter had turned lethal. The temperature had plummeted to a bone-chilling 0°F, a cold so sharp it felt like a blade against the skin. In the pre-dawn darkness of the Coleman yard, 14-year-old Daisy woke up. She wasn't in her bed. She was lying in the snow. Her state was beyond bewilderment. It was a total sensory shutdown. Her hair, still damp from the night before, was literally frozen to the frozen earth, acting as a macabre anchor. She was clad only in a t-shirt and athletic pants. No shoes, no socks, no protection. As the realization of her surroundings seeped into her consciousness, a single haunting thought echoed in her mind. I must be dead. She tried to scream, but her throat was a desert of ice. She tried to move, but her limbs felt like leaden weights. With the last remnants of her will, she began a desperate, agonizing crawl toward the front door. She reached the threshold and began to pound, not with her hands, which were numb and white, but with the sheer force of a dying girl's instinct to live. Inside, Melinda Coleman was jolted from a deep sleep. The sound was strange, a dull, rhythmic thudding. She initially mistook it for their dogs seeking refuge from the lethal cold. Wrapped in a robe, she made her way to the door, expecting to see pets. When she swung the door open, the sight was a physical blow to her soul. Her daughter Daisy was sprawled across the doorstep, fading in and out of consciousness. The sharp, cloying scent of alcohol rose from her body like a toxic cloud. Daisy couldn't speak. She could only weep, her tears freezing almost instantly on her cheeks. Melinda's veterinary and medical instincts screamed into action. She called for her sons, who rushed down to lift their sister's rigid, hypothermic body. As they brought her into the warmth, the panic in the room was suffocating. Melinda began to undress her daughter, and that's when the accident theory died. Daisy's legs were a map of trauma. Not just the pale, waxy skin of severe frostbite, but deep, angry bruising and jagged red marks that spoke of a violent struggle. Using her medical knowledge, Melinda placed Daisy in a bathtub, meticulously monitoring the water temperature. She knew that warming her too fast could cause cardiac arrest. As the ice melted from Daisy's hair, the girl began to mutter disjointed, terrifying fragments of a story that made no sense. Terrified and realizing her daughter had been the victim of a brutal crime, Melinda dialed 911. As the police arrived, Daisy's mind remained a fractured kaleidoscope of alcohol and trauma. The narrative of the night had to be pieced together by her best friend, Paige, who had been sleeping in Daisy's room. The evening of Saturday, January 7th, had started with the reckless innocence of youth. The 2 girls had watched horror movies and sipped on wine secretly taken from the Coleman liquor cabinet. But the atmosphere shifted when Daisy's phone buzzed. It was a text from 17-year-old Matthew Barnett. Barnett was Maryville royalty, a popular soccer star with a powerful family name. He invited the girls to his house for some fun. To a 14-year-old girl seeking acceptance, it was an invitation she couldn't refuse. Around 1 a.m., the girls snuck out through the bedroom window, meeting Matthew and 4 of his friends in the shadows. They were led into the Barnett basement through a window, told to keep their voices down so as not to wake Matthew's parents sleeping peacefully. The fun Matthew promised was a calculated trap. According to Page's testimony, as soon as they entered the basement, Matthew began a systematic campaign of plying Daisy with drink after drink. He didn't just offer them, he pushed them. Daisy, wanting to fit in, drank until she lost her footing on reality. While Page was led into a separate room by another boy, Nicholas, Daisy was isolated with Matthew in a room containing a large bed. The door was not fully closed, and Page caught flashes of the horror unfolding. Daisy was lying on the bed, paralyzed, her eyes rolling back, unable to form words or push him away. Matthew Barnett took advantage of her total incapacitation, but the cruelty didn't stop at the assault. His friend, Jordan Z., stood in the room, his face illuminated by the glow of his smartphone as he filmed the entire violation. It was a digital trophy, a way to immortalize Daisy's destruction. By 2 a.m., the boys decided the party was over. They drove the girls back to the Coleman house, but their final act was the most callous of all. They told Paige to go inside first, lying to her that they would stay with Daisy to help her sober up in the fresh air. Paige, young and trusting, climbed back into the house and fell into a heavy sleep. Outside, the boys watched as Daisy was overcome by nausea. They propped her up and held her hair back as she vomited, not out of a sense of care, but to ensure she didn't soil their clothes or their car. Once she was empty and drifting into a deep, alcohol-induced coma, they stripped her of her shoes. They took her bag. They took her mobile phone. They laid the 14-year-old girl, barefoot and semi-conscious, on the frozen earth of her front yard. They looked at her one last time, knowing the temperature was dropping to 0°F, and they drove away. For 3 hours, Daisy Coleman was a ghost in the snow, her life hanging by a thread, left to die by the very boys she thought were her friends. When the police conducted their search, the evidence was a trail of discarded life. 5 plastic alcohol bottles in her room, and outside in the snow, her shoes, her bag, and the frozen remnants of her struggle to survive. That morning, Daisy Coleman was rushed to the hospital for an emergency medical evaluation. Doctors documented bruises on her legs and clear signs of trauma in her genital area. Toxicology tests revealed her blood alcohol level was nearly twice the legal limit. Daisy remained unconscious for hours. When she finally woke up, she remembered nothing about the previous night. She admitted she had consumed a large amount of alcohol, taken without permission from her mother's cabinet, and confessed that she had secretly left home to visit a boy's house. Beyond that, her memory was completely blank. By 11 a.m. on January 8th, just hours after the incident, police had located and detained Matthew Barnett, Jordan Z., and Nicholas Gudis. All 3 were brought in for questioning. During his interrogation, Matthew Barnett admitted that he had sexual intercourse with Daisy that night, but insisted it had been consensual. He claimed that Daisy and her friend Paige were already intoxicated when he met them, and initially denied giving Daisy any alcohol. As the questioning continued, his story began to unravel. Faced with inconsistencies, Matthew eventually admitted that he had given Daisy several shots of alcohol, saying he did so to melt her cold heart. He stated that he used a condom and disposed of it by throwing it out of the car window while driving Daisy back home. Jordan Z. at first refused to testify, but later confessed that he had used Nicholas's phone to record a short video, about 10 seconds long, showing Matthew kissing Daisy. Jordan admitted he showed the video to friends before panicking and deleting it. The footage was never recovered, despite multiple classmates claiming they had seen it. Nicholas Gudis, who had coerced Daisy's friend Paige into sexual activity, was the only one to immediately plead guilty and was sent to a juvenile detention center. The driver that night, a friend of Matthew, later told police that during the ride to Daisy's house she was crying continuously. He also said Matthew appeared more concerned about Daisy's brother finding out than about Daisy herself. Investigators soon discovered that just days before the incident, Matthew had visited the Coleman family home and shared a friendly dinner with them. At 1 p.m. on January 8th, police searched the basement of Matthew Barnett's house, seizing bed linens, empty bottles, men's underwear, and plastic cups. Yet during later interrogations, a disturbing shift occurred. A deputy sheriff appeared sympathetic toward Matthew, at one point suggesting that some girls seek attention through their actions, and that this might be one of those cases. He even praised Matthew for driving Daisy home, overlooking the fact that she had been left alone outside, unconscious, in freezing temperatures. Days later, Daisy physically recovered, but her memory never returned. By March 2012, only 2 months after the incident, all charges against Matthew Barnett and Jordan Z were dropped. The district attorney ruled that the encounter had been consensual. The deleted video was never recovered. Phone examinations revealed sporadic communication between Daisy and Matthew, including messages that prosecutors interpreted as suggesting sexual willingness in exchange for alcohol, as well as explicit messages exchanged prior to January 8th. Only after Matthew's release did the public learn that he was the grandson of Rex Barnett, a powerful Missouri politician with deep connections to law enforcement and prosecutors. Matthew and Jordan returned to their normal lives. Daisy did not. At school, Daisy was labeled a liar and a promiscuous troublemaker. Most of her peers sided with Matthew. She withdrew from social life, abandoned sports and dancing, and left the cheerleading squad. Her mother, Melinda, was subjected to anonymous threats at home and at work, eventually forcing her to resign from her longtime job at a veterinary clinic. In 2013, the Coleman family moved away. Soon after, their vacant home mysteriously burned down. The cause was never determined. Not long after, the house belonging to Daisy's friend Paige also burned. As national attention grew, Daisy managed to reopen the case. In the end, Matthew Barnett was found guilty of only one charge, leaving Daisy exposed to freezing temperatures. He received 2 years of probation and was ordered to pay $1,800 in restitution. No further charges were pursued. In 2016, the Netflix documentary Audrey and Daisy was released, exposing the devastating consequences of sexual violence, bullying, and online harassment. Alongside Daisy's story was that of Audrey Pott, a California teenager who, after enduring similar abuse and public humiliation, took her own life. Her attackers received minimal sentences, though her family later won a civil settlement. In 2018, Daisy moved to Colorado in an attempt to start over. She worked at a tattoo parlor and became involved in a film project about her healing journey. That same year, tragedy struck again when her mother and brother were involved in a car accident. Her 19-year-old brother Tristan was killed under circumstances that remain unclear. Daisy publicly admitted she was struggling to keep her pain hidden and to maintain the appearance that she was okay. Daisy co-founded a nonprofit organization to support victims of violence and continued to speak openly about her trauma, panic attacks, and relentless nightmares. In 2020, she told friends and police that an unknown man had been stalking her and sending threats. She begged for help, but her concerns were dismissed. On August 4, 2020, Daisy posted online that she was terrified to leave her home, unable to eat or sleep. She later wrote that a man had come to her door, that her photos had been stolen, and that a fake profile offering sexual services had been created in her name. Police conducted a welfare check that afternoon and found nothing alarming. Shortly after they left, Daisy video called her boyfriend, took out a gun, and pulled the trigger. When officers returned that evening, they found her dead. Her mother Melinda later wrote that Daisy never recovered from what those boys had done to her. 4 months after Daisy's death, Melinda Coleman took her own life as well. Only Daisy's brothers remained. Matthew Barnett's life and career continued without consequence. He offered condolences. For Daisy Coleman, justice never came. If this story made you think, if it shocked you, or if it left you searching for answers, don't forget to support the channel. Subscribe for more true crime stories, like the video to help it reach more people, and share it so this story is never forgotten. Thank you for watching. Stay curious and stay aware.